Absolutely. We think the future of electric service is decarbonized, decentralized, and regionalized. We think about California getting potentially much more than 2/3 of its electricity from renewables. It just becomes essential to have ready access to a much larger pool of resources than we have in California. Because again, we have to provide reliable service in every minute in every part of the state. So it turns out that aggregating the output of wind and solar plants together reduces variability and uncertainty by orders of magnitude. So it's from a cost point of view and from a grid management point of view, it's very, very important to have, to be able to aggregate the output of many solar plants, many wind plants together. We also need the geographic diversity of resources. So for example, PV, especially in Southern California, is affected by monsoonal flows in certain times of the year. Those flows as a temporary cloud cover we can lose at the ISO in our control room, we can lose thousands of megawatts instantaneously, pretty much. But if you go to Nevada and Arizona, there is no problem with monsoonal flow. Or certainly, as we depend much more on renewables as a sole resource, we're going to need SunPower an hour earlier in the morning, and New Mexico and Arizona are going to want their photovoltaic power an hour later in the afternoon. We're going to need west-facing solar. We're going to need real diversity of resources. So wind, for example, my framework again is responsibility for the entire grid. So wind and solar together, plus geothermal, plus biomass, plus hydro, those are all the resources that we have. The coastal wind in Washington, Oregon, California, all driven by the same weather patterns. Rocky Mountain wind is driven with completely different weather regime. So wind blows at different times. The capacity factor is much higher, which means the cost is lower. So being able to count on add Rocky Mountain wind in with solar that is spread out over a larger geographic area, together with biomass and geothermal, which provide a constant power and reduce the flexibility needs of operating the grid, that's the future that we have to have. And I think that one of the things that the legislature in passing SB 350 didn't fully recognize was that in setting us on a course to really rely on renewables, we're going to rely on renewables for our electric service, then we just have to have ready, low-cost access across a much larger geography.
So we just have a minute left.